And what she forgot to share is that 0.2% of Black women founders are getting funded, according to the Project Diane report. In terms of the portfolio companies that we have at Pipeline Angels, over 20% have a Black woman founder. Yes, mic drop, that's it. I'm leaving there. In Laura Liswood's book, The Loudest Duck, she shares a story about a mouse and an elephant that live in the same room. The mouse knows everything about the elephant. The mouse knows when the elephant goes to sleep. The mouse knows when the elephant is going to the bathroom. The mouse knows when the elephant is eating. This is because the mouse's survival depends on knowing everything. Now that elephant doesn't even know that there's a mouse in the room. When the most marginalized voices are leading the conversation, that's when inclusion happens. Now, take a moment, think about the rooms where you are the mouse, and think about the rooms where you are the elephant. You probably noticed that I said rooms, because here's the thing about privilege. Privilege can be fluid. For example, who are the white men of women's spaces? Spoiler, white women. So let me share with you a couple of examples of rooms where I have been, or I am the elephant, and rooms where I am the mouse. I am a hearing person in this world where those who are deaf and hard of hearing are marginalized. I am a cis person in a world where those who are trans are marginalized. I'm also a woman in a world that marginalizes women and non-binary people, anyone outside of the gender continuum, the gender binary of woman, man. I'm also a person of color in a world that marginalizes people of color. And in case you haven't noticed, if you can't read my shirt, I'm a queer person in a world that marginalizes LGBTQ people. I am a cis LGBTQ Latina. My gender pronouns are she, her, and I'm the founder and CEO of Pipeline Angels. Now, Pipeline Angels. What is Pipeline Angels? How many of you have watched Shark Tank or have heard of Shark Tank? Okay, a few of you. For those who haven't, you just have one simple homework for my talk. Go watch Shark Tank. I love TV, so it's going to be really fun, hopefully, for you. My pop culture analogy in terms of what Pipeline Angels does is to say there are enough white guy sharks investing in white guy entrepreneurs. I am in the business of creating more women and non-binary femmes. So anyone identifying with womanhood, cis, trans, third gender, and getting them to invest in more voices. So literally what we're doing is that we're getting more voices to invest in more voices. Since I launched Pipeline Angels in 2011, we now have had over 200 members who have graduated from our angel investing bootcamp. They have invested over $4 million in over 40 portfolio companies. I shared at the beginning a stat that in terms of those 40 plus companies, over 20% of them have a Black woman founder. Over 12% of them have a Latina founder as well. Over 26% of them have an LGBTQ founder. Over 40% of these companies have a founder that's 40 years and older, because ageism is also an issue in the tech startup world. So those are some numbers, and it's helpful to get numbers, right? Here's the other part of it. I launched Pipeline Angels, I like to say, for two simple reasons: to change the face of angel investing and to create capital for women and non-binary femme social entrepreneurs. There are actually 4 reasons why I launched Pipeline Angels. The first one really started in 2008, when I had an opportunity to grow a network of women social entrepreneurs in New York City. I grew it from about 6 women to over 1,200 within 2 years. And I kept hearing how hard it was to secure funding, interestingly enough, as a for-profit social venture, doing good and doing well. And what I kept hearing from these women social entrepreneurs was that people were getting excited when they were sharing their change-making ideas, and they immediately were saying, let me know where to donate. Let me know where to send a check. And as soon as they would clarify that they were aiming to be for-profit social ventures, these same people backed away and said, well, let me know when you start your sister nonprofit. This was around the time that very well-known companies led by, yes, spoiler again, white guys, were getting the funding, were making the news, were proving that the market wanted to support companies that do well and do good. That's when I had my aha moment. Society has a gendered perception on how we change the world. When a woman or femme says that they're going to change the world, the assumption is that they're going to launch a nonprofit. When a guy says that he's going to change the world, people are not thinking that he's going to launch a nonprofit. It might be one, but they're not thinking it. So that's one of the reasons why I launched Pipeline Angels. The second one is about, it's a white guy again. Are you ready for it? In 2012, there was a very well-known white guy investor, and he was interviewed at a very famous tech conference. I will just say it was not PopTech. And he was asked, what do you look for when you invest? And he very nonchalantly said, someone like me. That was before pattern recognition, pattern matching really became trendy. And there are a lot of organizations out there making the obvious, I'll underscore obvious, the obvious business case for diversity. I was interested in turning the concept of pattern recognition on its head and saying, well, if we invest in what looks like us, if we invest in what's familiar, let's get more of us on the investing side, because we're probably going to be investing in more of us on the entrepreneurship side. So I already shared with you some of those stats regarding our portfolio companies. Let me tell you a little bit more about the other side, the investing side. So according to the Center for Venture Research in 2016, out of all US angels, only 26% were women and only 5% were minorities. That means for women of color like me, we're fewer than 5% in terms of the US angel investing ecosystem. Our sharks in training, because that's what I like to call them while they're going through our angel investing bootcamp, the ones this past semester in the spring, over 30% of our members were Black women, and over 20% were Latinas. So you see, we're getting more voices investing in more voices. Now there's a third reason why I launched Pipeline Angels, and this really is my passion to activate local capital for local entrepreneurs. Not every entrepreneur is wanting, willing, or able to go to Silicon Valley or New York City for that matter. And if they have untapped local capital in their communities, why should they? And so that's why we're in various places across the US, not just in San Francisco or New York City, we're also in Miami. We're heading to Anchorage, Alaska, and we're continuing on to different cities because we want to make sure that it's not just a few who are wanting, willing, and able to go to specific cities, i.e. Silicon Valley, New York, or others. We want to make sure that we're unleashing local capital for local entrepreneurs. Now, there's a fourth reason. The fourth reason is when we talk about the funding stages that an entrepreneur finds themselves when they're raising capital, we often talk about bootstrapping, then friends and family round, then angel round, and then venture capital round. Now, another wise Latina, her name is Nicole Sanchez, she talks about bootstrapping, and she says that the tech media glamorizes bootstrapping, and that for a lot of our communities, bootstrapping is simply called living. Now, I talk about the friends and family round and how a lot of entrepreneurs don't have the friends and family, and don't have access to that critical early stage in the capital continuum. And so that's what our members are. Our members are the friends and family for entrepreneurs who might not have access to that early critical capital. Now, just in case, I wanted to make sure that we're both, we're on the same page. The critical difference between angel investing and venture capital that people talk about is that angels invest their own money, and then VCs invest other people's money. Of course, there's some angels who are VCs and some VCs that are angels. So I'm about to quote Rihanna. Are you ready? I've started quoting Rihanna saying that if we really want more women, more non-binary people, more men of color entrepreneurs to shine bright like a diamond, we need to invest in the diamonds in the rough. We need to create that runway. And I wanted to give you a short snapshot of one of our portfolio companies at Pipeline Angels. The company is called Blendor, and their tagline is AI and people analytics to outsmart unconscious bias. And the founder is a queer Black woman. Her name is Stephanie Lampkin, and she went to Stanford, she went to MIT, she studied computer science, and when she was out there looking for a job, she kept being told that she was not tech enough. That's actually what inspired her to launch Blendor. Our members invested in her, I want to say close to 2 years ago. This year, she won Google Demo Day. She was on the cover of The Atlantic. It took the status quo about 2 years to realize the potential that our members saw 2 years ago. Our members created that runway. Just imagine if there had not been that runway for those 2 years. We need to create that support. So I want to leave you with a question. Of course, I have to set it up, give you the context before asking you the question. So I'm about to ask you a question. It's not the question. How many of you know or are familiar with Ellen Powell? Have you? Okay, so guess what? It's just not one homework assignment, there are two. So for some of you who don't know about Ellen Powell, just search the name. Ellen Powell is a venture capitalist. In 2012, she sued Kleiner Perkins, her former employer, for gender discrimination. And I got the chance to interview her it was a fireside chat regarding her new book called Reset. She was a little bit late to our fireside chat because she actually was coming from being interviewed by Trevor Noah. I was like, how awesome. I get to interview her right after Trevor Noah. And in the book, something that she talks about is around that same time that she was filing a lawsuit against Kleiner Perkins on gender discrimination, she was advising the new CEO of Reddit, Ishan Wang, and was encouraging him to take money from Kleiner Perkins to help grow and scale Reddit. And Ishan, she recounts in the book, which of course, check it out, Ishan was like, they treated you terribly. Why would I want to take money from people who treat their colleagues, their coworkers, so poorly? So this question applies to entrepreneurs in the room who are looking for funding. It also applies if you're not an entrepreneur, if you have a business and you have clients. It applies to some of you if you watch movies, TV, film, when you think about what directors you want to support, what production companies you want to support. It applies to the next book that you're reading. It applies to the next restaurant you go to. My question to you is, and what I want to instigate in you today is, and you don't have to answer right now, is who do you want to make money for? Thank you.